glass, the outer necklace is there. They're going to find so many products. So go to our Etsy store and we'll say thank you for shopping with B-Tip.
You are watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Massive human trafficking. It's a record 288 people arrested.
They're not reporting the real numbers.
The numbers are segmented and they are fictitious.
I started my career in 1997 in the United States Border Patrol. It was one of the most violent times in recent Border Patrol history. I made my bones and my reputation on that border. I believe what is happening on the border today is intentional.
We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them.
Our own government is facilitating the absolute destruction of the American immigration system, and I can prove it point by point. I'm unafraid to speak the truth. This is just data-driven and experience-driven.
What I find so frustrating about the conversation around tariffs is that we all agree on the problem. We all agree that the deindustrialization of America led to the downward mobility of the American working class, deaths of despair, people working multiple jobs and not being able to afford the American dream. We all agree that it is deeply unfair for the American middle class to be bearing the burden of unfair tariffs from other countries. We all agree that it is great for the president to have leverage in order to demand reasonable things like that countries stop allowing fentanyl to murder 100,000 Americans every year and that Mexico do its part to police its own border. And yet when somebody has the courage to show up and say to Wall Street, screw you, I am waging war. I'm waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class. And you elites in Wall Street, you do what you need to do because I'm not going to stop fighting for the American working class. Suddenly, everybody is sitting around going, oh no, the stock market. Yeah, the stock market looks like that because the rich are punishing Trump for siding with the neglected and humiliated American working class over them. We have already seen these tariffs work, Pierce. The number of people crossing the southern border is at zero. Fentanyl is at record lows for the last 10 years. We have already seen $1.2 trillion in manufacturing invested in this country since January 21st. So they have already worked. Now, how long is Wall Street going to keep trying to punish this president for standing the American working class? I don't know, but I can tell you that the view from the street is people cannot believe that there is a president who is working for them, who is putting them first and telling Wall Street to go screw itself. Wall Street, which picked the Democrats for the last 3 election cycles in a row. That's what the real story is here. American Compass did a survey of just GOP voters. We know now that the majority of Americans who make under $100,000 a year now vote for the Republican Party. So that was almost a means-tested poll. And they found that 77% of GOP voters, the working class, not the elites, said that when they were asked, they said they would be willing to pay higher prices if it meant bringing back manufacturing, because of course in their mind they are going to be the beneficiaries of those manufacturing jobs. About Canada, a lot of people are asking, why Canada? We love Canada. Canada are our friends. Why wage this, tariff war on Canada? And of course the answer is simple. Canada and Mexico are the back door to the American economy because we have this trade deal with them, the USMCA. So if there are no tariffs on China, if Canada and Mexico do not match our tariffs on China, China simply builds car manufacturing plants in Canada and in Mexico, which they have already done, and they use that in order to get tariff-free cars into the American market, which is exactly what President Trump is trying to get away from. So what he wants from them is for them to close that back door. And I just want to emphasize again, back in the 70s, when the majority of the GDP in America was in the middle class, right? That's kind of like the golden era that we look back to of when the economy was really healthy and working class people felt that they could afford a middle class life. 25% of our economy was in manufacturing. Today, The top 10% control over 60% of the GDP. And that is a direct result of the fact that only 10% of our economy is manufacturing. And the largest share, 20%, is in finance and real estate, which is, of course, how other countries we have artificially inflated the dollar, which makes the product of the American worker unaffordable. And so what the tariffs are doing are simply saying we are refusing the race to the bottom in wages. It is unfair to the American worker, which I think we have all basically agreed on at this point.
Welcome to Truth with JJ Carrell. Listen, that woman is 100% correct. This has been going around the internet. It's about 3 or 4 days old, but I wanted to play it because I love her passion, and she's just sticking it to that fat-headed Unger of the Young Turks. He's so worthless. And then the person to her immediate left is the great Carrie Lake, who I love. But this woman, guess who is she? Just some right-winger, someone that would come on Worldview Tube and agree with what I'm saying? Nope, that's a Democrat. That's a Democrat. And she's looked at it with even eyes and open eyes and said, wait a minute, absolutely this is what he's doing. The rest of the nation, the rest of the nations on planet Earth have been abusing America. Why do we allow this to happen? Why does our political elite and our corporate elite allow our country to be raped and pillaged? Why? Because they get enriched. You heard what she just said. The top 20% control all of the 60% of the GDP. And that 60% goes up to 80%, meaning the top 20% of the population, the elites and the politicians, the corporate elite, they own everything. Prior was the middle America had the vast majority of the GDP because we, middle America, grew and created everything. And then we enriched ourselves, where we had one person in the household that was the breadwinner, and the mom was taking care of the kids. We had a uniform nuclear family, and everything was thriving in America. Now we have a father that's working 2 jobs, maybe a third, a mom that's on a full-time job, being a full-time mom. Now meals aren't getting done. No one's eating together. Divorce because everyone's stressed out of their mind. Nuclear families absolutely destroyed. Fatherlessness is rampant in our country, all because less than 40 to 50 years ago, the elites decided to wreck America's economy. Why? For cheaper crap. Tell me, you like your cheap crap from China? How much do you keep your cheap crap before it breaks? Solar panels, garbage. We can't sell our cars there, but they can sell here. It is absolutely insane, treasonous, absolute criminal what our politicians have done to us. They're the dumbest. I've said this when I went and testified in November, and I came out and I called my wife and she said, how are you doing after that? And I said, these are some of the dumbest people in our population. And I know that in the depths of my soul. You have about 5 or 10% max that are conniving, malicious, intelligent, and evil people running our government. The ones that below them, the AOCs and the McCalls and all them, they're just morons. McCall, he's very well up in money. But the rest of them they're just getting the scraps, right? And the scraps are millions, okay? The top is trillions and billions. The scraps are tens of millions, okay? So the scraps are not like, here's a nickel. That 90%, 95 to 95% that's below the elite that are running our country, they're dumb as stumps. They've allowed, and I'll give you a great example. Who signed off on the North American Trade Agreement and thought that was okay, with no gatekeepers in Mexico or Canada for China and all the other nations to come in, build their crappy products, and sell it to us with no tariffs? Who allowed that to happen? Meaning the elites that did it knew this was going to happen, and they banked on the stupidity and the greed of the lower 95% of the politicians that either were so stupid they didn't understand or couldn't comprehend what a North American Trade Agreement is, or they just started getting their money come in either through campaign funds, NGO backdoors, or all these phantom book deals or speaking engagements. They became rich with millions and millions of dollars, and they didn't care. They didn't care that they hollowed out America's manufacturing. All the middle American jobs gone, vanished, to allow corporations to enslave people in foreign nations and become wealthy. Can you, Caleb, can you please show this X post? I'm going to pull it up so I can read it directly from my phone. I just want you to understand. These are the tariffs on our goods from other nations. Nicaragua, 30. I'm going to randomly choose them. Nicaragua, 36%. Norway, 30%. Dominican Republic, 10%. New Zealand, 20%. Madagascar, 93%. Serbia, 74%. El Salvador, 10%. Laos, 95%. Let's go over to the European Union. Our best friends, 39%. China, everything that we send over there gets tariffed at a 67% surcharge on everything. Thailand, 72%. Switzerland, 61%. Cambodia, 97%. South Africa, 60%. Our great partner in trade, United Kingdom, 10%. Israel, is the great Israel, that everyone says that we have to give them everything we have. Israel, Israel, Israel. If you don't believe in Israel, then you're an anti-Semite. You hate Jews. While they have destroyed us, economically tried to destroy us, sabotaged and killed people on the USS Liberty, not even arguable, it happened. Dragged us into the endless wars. How much is our greatest ally? How much is our greatest ally charging us? You think it should be zero, right? We send them all the war, all the weapons, we're sending humanitarian aid to a first world country. We're sending them billions upon billions and billions of dollars, and what do? They tariff us at 33%. Our greatest ally. Love it. Sure they are. I'm sure they're our greatest ally, 33%. Thank you, Israel. Thank you. Look, my money's in my retirement's tied to the 401k because that is part of the governmental retirement system called Thrift Savings Plan. I've lost 15% of my net worth in 3 days. 15%. That's hard to swallow. But I still back everything this president's doing. Every single thing he's doing economically. I always use this analogy. America is riddled with cancer. Riddled with cancer. And we either do nothing and act like it's all okay and let's go to dinner and Olive Garden and stuff our face with food and celebrate life and act as if we're not going to die, but we're going to die. Or we go in and we radiate, we carve that cancer out, we chemotherapy it, we do whatever we got to do, and it's going to suck. And it's going to be painful, and it is going to ruin every day-to-day life for a long time. And then one day, we're going to hit that curve, or we're going to hit that corner, and we're going to go, holy cow, I feel better today. I feel better and better and better, and all of a sudden, I'm alive and I'm thriving. That's what's happening with this economy. We have cancer that has destroyed our country's economy, our social, our societal, our cultural norms. Everything has been destroyed. I have a great guest coming in, Sheriff Mack. I'm excited to talk to him because I believe all of the power, all of the antidote to all this treason is our sheriffs. I strongly believe that, and I want to get into a very robust and powerful discussion for 30 minutes. I want to talk to him about the sheriffs. Before I do, I want to talk about our sponsor, Bella Grace. Shop bellagrace.com/truth. I had an incredible interview today for The Vault with Dr. Lucky. We went through everything about Bella Grace. We went through everything about inflammation, healthcare, the lies of the healthcare pharmaceutical world. It was a fascinating hour-long interview with Dr. Lucky. Fascinating, intelligent, highly, highly credentialed individual. ShopBellaGrace.com/truth. Here's a commercial for Bella Grace, and I am using the elixir, and I am seeing a difference in everything that I've been promised.
As a practitioner with a very large practice, at the very end of the day, I tended to be a little bit worn out. I wasn't covering from taking care of patients. In January, before we pre-launched the company, I was one of the very first people to get the 15-day samples. And right away, I was connected to the Bella Grace Collagen Elixir. Just an overall feeling of wellness, but also a little more energy. I recovered in my workouts, sleeping just more soundly, and then waking up the next day ready to take it on. For me, it was the power of three: the cat's claw, the astaxanthin, and of course, the best, most studied Verisol collagen on the market today.
ShopBellaGrace.com/truth. ShopBellaGrace.com/truth. I want to bring in Sheriff Mack, and before he does, I want to tell you he created the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, the CSPOA. He also has several books out that he's written, and he was successful in a lawsuit that went all the way to the Supreme Court. This man believes in the power of sheriffs, which has the greatest area of operation in law enforcement called the AOR, the largest landmass of AOR and the most powerful and impactful authority in law enforcement is embedded and trusted in the sheriffs. So let's bring in Sheriff Mack. Welcome to our show, Sheriff.
JJ, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course, sir. You and I don't know if you remember, but you and I, maybe it was a year ago, sir, we were on a panel together. And I cannot remember the show that we did, but we were on a show.
I knew we had met before, yes.
Maybe it was Connect the Dots with Dan Hampel. I don't remember. But I do remember we were on it together, and I found it fascinating talking and listening to you because I had followed you when I was a Border Patrol agent in San Diego and you were a sheriff in Arizona. I remember you and listening to you talk about the constitutionality of the sheriffs. Can you tell us about your organization? Then I want to dive right into the power the sheriffs have, and I believe the responsibility sheriffs have across our nation to maintain the law and order that seems to have disappeared in this nation.
Yes, well, after I beat the Clinton administration at the U.S. Supreme Court, and everybody needs to know, this is the only time in U.S. history where sheriffs sued the federal government and won a case at the U.S. Supreme Court. And it's never happened before. It's never happened since. And it was quite monumental in a lot of respects, and primarily because it answers the question, what you're talking about. Justice Scalia wrote the decision, and I put the highlights of the decision in a little booklet. Fits right in your shirt pocket. It's very small, but it's the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of our country. And everybody needs to get this. Look, you can get 3 of them for $5. So they're very inexpensive. You should be passing them around because Scalia kind of delves into the authority and power of the sheriff in his introduction of the case. And what we did is the few sheriffs that actually stood up against the Brady Bill was the first time in history where the federal government was commanding or commandeering the office of sheriff for federal bidding under a threat of arrest. Now, can you believe this? The arrogance, if not the ignorance of the federal government, the Congress and the White House, saying that the sheriffs will now do what we tell them. No, we can't fire them and we can't hire them, but we're going to tell them what to do anyway, because in Washington, D.C., we can do whatever we want. Well, I said no. And then 6 other sheriffs joined me in that lawsuit. And Prince from Montana and I ended up at the Supreme Court. Well, this is what Scalia says about the authority and power of the sheriffs. So he's talking about and introducing the complex nature of this case. And he says, because there is no constitutional text speaking to this precise question, the answer to the Cleos. Now that's the key here, JJ. What does Cleo mean? So some people say, oh, constitutional law enforcement officer. No, it's chief law enforcement officer. So the United States Supreme Court, authored by Justice Scalia, the answer to the Cleos, to the chief law enforcement officer's challenge, must be sought in historical understanding and practice, in the structure of the Constitution, and in the jurisprudence of this court. So he's going to take us through a history lesson of our Constitution and of the jurisprudence of this court to prove that the sheriffs are the Cleos, the chief law enforcement officer of each county. And lo and behold, even the BATF and the rest of the federal government, the White House, Congress, made sure that in the Brady Bill itself, it commands the Cleo. It doesn't say sheriff. It says the Cleo shall make a reasonable effort to conduct this gun control measure for the federal government for free and without any negotiation. I'm really shocked to this day that more sheriffs aren't standing against this sort of thing. And the decision went much further than I ever dreamed. But every citizen in this country needs to know about this decision and needs to have a relationship with your sheriff, because he gets his power directly from you. He is the only elected law enforcement officer anywhere in the country. And as we know, we the people bestow and delegate all authority and power within our government. And that's why the sheriff is so powerful. He reports only to the people, the true power source in America.
When you look at what's happened in terms of law and order in America, I say that there is no justice. I really believe that. And people will say, well, JJ, there's two tiers of justice. And I say, okay, there can only be one justice, and justice for all. When you have two tiers of justice, you have no justice, meaning the people, the elites, are not being punished. There's no arrests. Where are the arrests since Donald Trump has taken office? And I'm the biggest Donald Trump supporter, but I am adamant there are no arrests. Why are there no arrests? And I believe one of the major problems that spilled over from everyone before Trump is this centralized power that we believe the greatest law enforcement organization is the FBI. I was in federal government. They are not the greatest. They have the most money, the most technology, but they are also a bunch of do-nothing, paper-pushing people. And they come in and they try to supersede what we did as a Border Patrol, what you do as a sheriff, what local police officers do. I believe the FBI should be scattered into the wind. That's my personal feeling, and given to the states. But I believe the greatest power rests. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Well, I was just going to tell you, my father retired from the FBI, and I totally agree with you. Kash Patel has his hands full, and I think they should abolish it and start over.
Well, sir, you know this. Every state, I believe every state has a state bureau of investigation. It's not like we have to recreate the wheel. All we have to do is the FBI needs to be a clearinghouse of information. That's it. Just a fusion center where all information goes, where I can do records checks, I can do cross-national records check, but they don't need guns and badges. They just need a security clearance in order for all the states to do their job. I believe, though, the greatest power, and it has been ignored because the states have allowed their rights to be superseded by the federal government, the greatest law enforcement apparatus is the sheriffs. And one of the reasons I will say that is the sheriffs, and I would like to hear your opinion as a former sheriff in Arizona, you have the ability to deputize. And that's an incredible authority you have. You could take your sheriff department that has, say, 300 people and make it 3,000 overnight. Overnight, you could do that. That's powerful, yes. Sir. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, yes. And I had a posse, and Joe Arpaio had a huge posse, and numerous sheriffs are now seeing the light with having a Minuteman posse available to them if they ever need it. No matter what. I mean, and sooner or later, every sheriff's going to need that. But I got to bring up something very, I got to let you know about a huge injustice that was left over from the Biden administration and the corrupt lawfare of the FBI. Right now, Sheriff Scott Jenkins is facing 10 years, over 10 years in prison because he was attacked by the FBI, supposedly for bribery, because he was putting together a posse and people who made large donations to him were put on his posse. And they're literally trying to give him more time than what most murderers get in this country. And it's a farce. I know the case. I know what he's done. Look, if any president were to give a cabinet position or an ambassadorship to someone who donated big time to him, and you and I both know that happens all the time. Yes, Trump has done it. Everybody's done it. If they put this man in prison for that, then every president should go to prison. Just about every politician would go to prison because of the way they raise money. If you give somebody, in fact, Barack Obama took a $300,000 donation and it was deemed to be unlawful. So they slapped his hand and made him give it back or whatever. Campaign donations are extremely immoral, almost every single one of them. Big Pharma donates both to the Democrat and the Republican in the same race because they're buying whoever wins. None of those ever go to trial. None of them ever get arrested. But now give me this good sheriff who talked about just about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, he was the one national and said he would deputize every citizen in his county if they try to confiscate guns in his county or any place else that he has a say so. And he was also going to go after the laptop of Hunter Biden. So guess who gets arrested right after all of that? Sheriff Scott Jenkins. He is a good man. He's one of the best constitutional sheriffs that we've had in America. And now he's already been convicted. And all of this, we've got to get, I've been trying for 4 months, JJ, to get this in front of Trump, to get this good man pardoned. It's all federal charges. And the evil prosecutors that went after him, oh my goodness. And if you can help in any way, we have got to get this in front of Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, or the president, or the vice president, or the chief of staff. I'm sorry, I forget her name. But we've got to do something for this guy before he ends up in prison.
Where was he a sheriff out of, sir? What county?
Culpeper County, Virginia. And guess what? When he first got in 2012, one of the first things he did is he invited me to his office to train his entire staff, and the name of the class is the Constitution for Law Enforcement, or the Constitution for Peace Officers. And he was doing everything by the book, everything by his oath of office. He is such a good man, and if you can help, we need you.
Absolutely. Does he have a fund? Do you know if he has a fund or anywhere we can donate?
He's trying to raise money right now, yes. I think he has, I can't remember where he has it, but he does have one because he's trying to raise money for an appeal. But I'm trying to stop all that and get the appeal to where it's a moot point so we can get him pardoned and he doesn't need an appeal.
Good. I'm going to look into that, and I will definitely talk about that later this week or tomorrow's show and find out if he does have any kind of Give, Send, Go or any kind of nonprofit we can donate to our audience. Well, you know, this is chilling. But this is chilling, though, right?
But anybody who can get this to Trump, Mike Lindell or whoever can get it before Trump, man, we've got to do this.
Well, this is a chilling thing because if they can do it to one, then it takes very, very good, strong men that will look at that and go, whoa, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I don't know if I want to be sheriff. Like,
right.
We have a new sheriff I live in Johnson County in Kansas, and he's a liberal. And I'm getting people asking me, would you run for sheriff? Yes.
Well, you just lost a real good sheriff there, Calvin Hayden.
Yes, we did. He was a very good man. I know him. I've spoken 2 times with him in the same speaking engagement that we had. I'm shocked that he lost. We have strangely enough, in Kansas, we have a little pocket here of very liberal minded people, and they came out and they voted for this new sheriff. The new sheriff has actually come out and said, I don't want to work with ICE. I don't want to work with ICE. I can't stand these sheriffs. You work with ICE because you have violent criminals sitting in your prisons. You have violent criminals that are in your community. But I think there needs to be, what I'd like to let me get this. What is your opinion on sheriffs helping, and they don't have to work for ICE. They work in conjunction with ICE. I ran task force all up and down the coast in the California corridor in the United States Border Patrol. I had sheriffs, local PDs. I had all of these guys working with me. I never overstepped my boundaries with them. I allowed their DAs to handle certain cases, and our USAs handled. There is always been and always has been a working relationship with state and local. I believe if we are going to remove the ticking time bomb in America, which is 50 million illegal aliens, the sheriffs have to play a prominent role in this. What is your thoughts on the deportation and the coordinated conjunction partnership with ICE through the sheriffs?
I said that exact thing. And I said it on the Steve Bannon show, and I've said it on numerous other shows, and I'll say it on your show. If this deportation thing is going to be successful, then we need every sheriff and as many sheriffs as we can to get on board. The result of the election was 80% of the country went red. If you go county by county, it was 80% of the country. It was a huge landslide when you take the election county by county. And if we're going to get rid of this criminal element, and you called it a lot straighter than everybody else has, it's close to 50 million, maybe even more. But if we have got to get these criminals out of America. And the Democrats did this intentionally just to get them registered to vote. And they did not care about the murders, the rapes, the thefts, the gangs, the attacks on police, the ambushes on police, and all the other crime associated with these illegals. And they were willing to sacrifice the American people being victims of all this crime, paying them money from taxpayer dollars to subsidize their existence here, and then all so that they could get a monopoly on Democrat power nationwide. We have got to stop this, and every sheriff who wants these criminals out of his county should be working with ICE and Tom Homan. I've worked a little bit with Tom Homan on this. We've got sheriffs volunteering, and the biggest example of what sheriffs can do is happening in Florida. All 67 sheriffs in Florida have gotten together with the governor, and now unanimously, all 67 are working together with sheriffs. All the other sheriffs are working together with each other, and they're also working with Tom Homan and ICE to make sure this criminal element gets out of Florida. Every sheriff and sheriff's association in every state should be doing the same damn thing. Get busy. If you're really concerned about public safety, then this is something you have to be doing. If you don't, and you're just going to shrug your shoulders, I'm not a federal agent or whatever else excuse you're going to use, go ahead. However, I will say this, JJ, no sheriff can be forced to do that one way or the other.
Right, I understand that. But if we're going now, this as a sheriff, a lot of your money comes from feds, right? And especially the police departments, a lot of their task force money.
Mine did. I never took a dime from the federal government, and I wouldn't do it. And I suggest to sheriffs not to do that, because they'll pull it on you as soon as you start doing something they don't like. But
absolutely.
Yes, many sheriffs get grants from the feds. I don't even believe in that grant system. It's a bribery system that I don't buy into at all. And I wasn't going to take money from Clinton. I was sheriff under Clinton, and I sued Clinton and won. So
I believe that
money with us anyway.
Yeah, but the sheriffs are, and if a sheriff doesn't partake in the removal of illegal aliens, which are criminals from our society, then they need to be voted out. Or if their community does not help ICE, then the rapes and murders will pile up, and you, the community, you voted for it. Then now you have to reap what you sowed. Yes, Absolutely. My final question to you, sir, and I loved our conversation. We're going over 30 minutes, so thank you very much for your time.
Anytime.
Explain to my audience, if you were a sheriff back in Arizona, or let's say Nebraska, and I said to you, you're the sheriff, but I need you to exponentially increase the workforce, multiply it, and you had to do it through deputizing. Tell me real quick, maybe one or two things that you would do to increase your manpower, but at the same time, make sure your deputies, the people that have been deputized, have been trained, are going through training, so you don't have wild people. Because when they hear deputizing and militias, they think guys just roaming the countryside doing what they want. No, it's very controlled. Can you please walk us through that if you will?
Well, first of all, there's a reserve program where you can actually have former officers keep their certification, and they can work a certain amount of hours per week to keep their certification. They're trained by all the other training that police officers get in this country. Now, creating a posse and then deputizing them or swearing them in, which I think is one and the same, but you swear in your posse and you have former military, you have people who are experienced with weaponry, or you get people who are not experienced with any of that. But there's still places for them to work. They can work inside the jail. They can help transportation for women. So you hire women, or you deputize women to work with transports for women back and forth from jail to court. You get men to do the same thing. You get any of those people to help. All of them can help in dispatch, and again, in the jail. And a lot of sheriff's offices and police departments already have citizens academies that train you for that very thing. And I also want to train citizens to be able to be certified in firearms so that they can ride with police officers or with deputies on patrol. So where a deputy has backup inside the vehicle, because most of rural America is done by small town sheriffs, and they don't have enough backup units. So all of this is to keep people safe. All of this is to serve the people in the community and to make sure that deputies and the public are safe. Every sheriff in this country has the authority to do just that. How he trains them and how extensively he trains them is up to him only.
Well, I love this conversation because I'm a huge believer in coordinated partnerships, state, local, and federal, and there's a place for it. Now there's a place when it's not, right? When it's not. But I believe today in this lawless society and with this enormous task of removing 50 million plus illegal alien criminals from our nation, it's all hands on deck. Yes, please.
The thing of it is, every sheriff's office already has a search and rescue squad, and that's totally posse. They're volunteers, and they do a terrific job, and they're well trained. Why not in other areas?
Why not, right? It's all hands on deck right now.
Right.
Sheriff Mack, thank you very much. Please tell us before you leave, what's the best way to communicate with you, your organization, and your website? And we'll have it up on the Cry on Unbelief, but go ahead below.
I want every citizen listening to this program to know you can join our posse, so we help you train with your posse, with your sheriff. CSPOA, CISPOA, CSPOA.org. Become a member of our posse today and make a donation. Buy these great books, and there's a bunch of other books I've written there too. And folks, be part of the solution. This is a peaceful and effective solution.
I agree with that, and thank you very much. Be a part of the solution. Thank you, Sheriff Mack. I hope to talk to you again very shortly.
So do I. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. All right. Wow, I love talking to men that want to have a solution. They want a solution. We have big problems in America. Big problems. We're going to talk about one in just a second, and it's going to be uncomfortable because everyone's going to scream, "You're a racist, JJ. You're a bigot. You're whatever." I've already have been called these terms my whole career because I'm white. I'm big. I'm strong. I grew up in the South. Everybody ignores the fact that I was born in Massachusetts and lived the early part of my life in the Northeast, and then spent 25 years in Southern California, but I am still a racist because I'm from the South. All those names mean nothing to me. They never have. I know who I am, and I know what I believe. And everything I talk about is fact-based or evidence. Before I go to this next topic, I want to talk to you about our second sponsor of our show today, and that is Patriots Made, patriotsmade.com/JJ. Stop going to the big box stores. Stop going and buying products from corporations that hate you, that funded Planned Parenthood, that funded Black Lives Matter, that funded every anti-police, defund the police movement. Everything that you hate, everything that goes against your beliefs, your God-given beliefs, your God-given rights, all of it. Go to a company that is American-made, that makes their products here in America. They actually use the idea that the crazy left has but never does, is green, meaning their products are safe. Go to patriotsmade.com/JJ, patriotsmade.com/JJ. Now, I have spoken about this quite a bit. It's called the ticking time bomb. I've never heard anyone else talk about it in this term, but I'm going to give you, again, what is happening to our nation is our leaders, and I put that in sorry quotes, our leaders, our political elites, our globalist elites, our open borders, have everybody move in and out. America is just an idea. It's not really a border. It's not geographic. It's nothing, right? So let people come in. The ticking time bomb is a demographic time bomb of citizens versus non-citizens. Has nothing to do with race. Nothing. Because every race and ethnicity has come into our country by the millions. And one of those, quote, groups of people are Muslims from Middle Eastern countries, continent of Africa. And we've allowed them to come in unchecked. When we had the fall of Afghanistan withdrawal, where we did this like a bunch of third graders would withdraw from Afghanistan and people were killed. What was our response to that debacle? Well, our response was to take in 86,000 Afghanis. 86,000 unvetted, unchecked Afghanis and release them into America. We brought in millions. I'm going to say this very clearly so you hear me clearly. Millions of illegal alien men from the continent of Africa and the Middle East in the last 4 years under Biden. What does that look like in real time? Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist or somebody that's a news junkie to understand what is happening. The ticking time bomb is having small bursts of explosions before the big one. And one of the small ones is the Islamization of America. And don't you think for a second it's not happening. I'm going to show you a video. It's about 3 minutes long, but it's worth it because I want you to hear these three Muslim men mocking America and America's Constitution, America's laws, and they're using our laws to benefit the takeover of our nation and turn it into Islamic nation. And do not believe for a second that they're not trying to do that. We are a balkanized nation. If you want to know the truth, we are a nation that is splintered and fractured. Our demographics have been absolutely altered, illegally, artificially. This is not Muslim Americans having babies or Hispanic Americans having babies or Black Americans or white Americans having babies or not having babies. This is the flooding of your nation with illegal aliens, artificially upending our demographics and changing our country completely. This is the ticking time bomb. Listen to these three men and understand that they are not dummies. They are highly intelligent, and they are using the system, the Constitution, everything that's afforded to American citizens to destroy America. Listen to this.
279-acre land. So like you said, brother, masjid, homes, a total Muslim village. So we're still debating on the name, but it's going to be something Muslim name and a village attached to it, right? The names of the streets, Khalid ibn al-Walid, Tariq bin Ziyad, like all the great conquerors. Like people need to Google those conquerors and know like what are we made of? Yeah, like Google Khalid ibn al-Walid. Google Tariq bin Ziyad, you know? And then we want to have different sections like Andalusia, this, that, like all our past glories, and we want to bring it back. The way what we're doing, brother, like you cannot make it exclusive, like non-Muslims not allowed, kuffar not allowed. What we're doing, there's something called association fee. I don't know what it's called in Dubai. Like your maintenance fee that you pay yearly, to cutting the service fee, to cut the grass, to remove the snow and whatnot. So that service fee will put there 75% of the service fee you're paying goes to the masjid.
So they would automatically not want to come.
Automatically, if you are a practicing Christian, I would advise you, why help the Muslims, you know? Let Muslims do their own thing, right? So this is the way we're going to put that clause. And our attorney already put it there. So we have, brother, think about it. Like a guy comes from Bangladesh, have no idea about anything. Brother, we're putting an application now where we're selecting the names of the streets in the United States of America. We're putting the subdivision laws. Like, hey, this is the law. One of the laws being your yearly contribution, 75% of it goes to support the masjid that's going to be there. We're making these laws. We're putting those laws. It's unbelievable what Allah can do for you.
You just blew my mind.
You know, they say what's called verbal manifestations. If you keep saying something to someone, they'll become like that. If you keep telling someone they're a villain, they'll become a villain. People get saying, bro, these Muslims are taking over. The masses, you know what? If you keep calling, if you keep saying it, yes. I'm actually going to do it.
No, but you know what's mad is what you just said, bro. Actually, I think it's mind-blowing. You said a guy from Bangladesh comes over to the USA,
starts naming streets
after Islamic conquerors.
I cannot sometimes even believe it. And I suggested those names, or other people saying, why these? Yeah. Can we have like...
Comes over to the USA,
starts naming streets
after Islamic conquerors.
I cannot sometimes even believe it. And I suggested those names, or other people saying, why these? Yeah. Can we have like normal...
ask Allah,
Cordoba
Allah, give success to this project. I mean, Allah, protect this project and give it success.
And there's no riba involved.
No riba, brother.
No haram.
So we 6.8 million, we raised in 40 minutes. Now I'm like, okay, this is happening. This happened, right? And this is another thing. People fear too much, brother. Now you have raised it. Now I have great attorneys. Now we're going to use the kuffar when the talent comes in, right? We have the great attorneys. So I hired everyone that the township knows. So they have dealt with this is their boy, their attorney. This is their civil engineer. This is their planning commissioner. I have hired all of them in our team. Now they are submitting the application, because now comes the real world. You got to, play it wise, right? So now the township is going to see an application coming from, I'm not going to name his name, like John Smith, submitting this application, but it says Khalid ibn Walid Street. Oh my God, what is John Smith thinking, right? But this is what you make John Smith do when you got the money. You hire John Smith and tell him, hey, submit an application as I tell you to submit. Yeah. So
are you sure this podcast is not going to get
in trouble? Nothing, brother. I don't care. What are you going to do? So this is another thing.
I want the project to manifest.
Of course.
That's where you got to pull out the constitution.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Freedom of religion.
Exactly, brother.
You man identify as whatever you want, bro. I identify as Khalid bin Walid Street.
Yes.
This street identifies as Khalid bin Walid Street.
What are you going to do now? Hurt the street's feelings? Come on, man. Yeah.
Bravo, men. Bravo. You have to give it to them. They're doing exactly what great warriors do. Great invaders do. They look at the system. They don't fight it because they know America's too big. But they come in and they prey on the stupidity of the American leaders. They prey on the diversity, equity, inclusion. They prey on the fears of being called a bigot, of being called an Islam, a Nazi, whatever, and they prey on it, and then they work within the system to get what they want. And they're saying this is called Epic City, and people are saying, well, we're going to stop Epic City. No, you're not. It's already there. They're formalizing everything right now. It's already there. They're just formalizing it. Who's going to stop it in Texas? The great state of Texas, the Lone Star State, the don't tread on me state. I'm so tired of Texas. Texas, you are the epicenter of the illegal alien invasion. You did nothing. You are the epicenter of the child sex trafficking and child detention facilities. You did nothing. You sent your National Guard down there, and peasants from the third world ran you over, literally ran over your National Guardsmen. It was a debacle. It was shameful. It was disgusting. And what did you do? Nothing. Texas, you are the epicenter of so much that's wrong with America today. Own it. You don't think this can happen? Play this short video in New York City. These men were talking about Texas, but let's show you this short video from New York City. Tell me we don't have a problem. No, there's no problem. Let's go to another video. This is in Paterson, New Jersey. Please play just about, I have it down, just a 58 seconds of it. And I want you to listen to this guy declare the capital of Paterson is declared the capital of Palestine now. A U.S. city in New Jersey has just now renamed itself the capital of Palestine. Don't worry, JJ's just a bigot. This is all hyperbole. This is all nonsense. Yeah, JJ's, he's a bigot. Go ahead, play this. Go ahead, prove it to me.
Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. Paterson is proud to have the largest Muslim population in the state of New Jersey. And we are a better city because Muslims call Paterson home. And as you can see here in South Paterson on Palestine Way, we are proud to light the Hilal, something that has inspired other cities. As a matter of fact, over 50 cities now in this state light the Hilal, and I'd like to think 60, I stand to be corrected, over 60 other municipalities in the state of New Jersey light a fanus or halal, and I'd like to think that Paterson has inspired all of these cities and towns. Yalla, Zaku, come on.
We're cheering our demise. Leftist lunatics that are so tied to their ideology and hate America so much, they're clapping their demise. This is a takeover. What does this look like in real time? Well, let me show you a video from Bradford, United Kingdom. And now when you watch this video, I want you to understand the 30 million illegal aliens that crossed into America in these last 4 years, 60 to 70% of them were single adult, military-age men. And I have seen the videos and the pictures from all of my colleagues of thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands, day after day after day after day, in the tunes of millions of Middle Eastern men, men from Muslim countries in the continent of Africa, day after day after day, for 4 solid years. The enemy of the United States of America is inside of our walls. This is what is going to look like in America very, very soon. Okay, let me tell you what I see there and why they're going to win in Western Europe. Because I see alpha males that are tied to a belief that they absolutely believe in. They're tied to it. They're tied to it. What is the average male in UK tied to? Hell, they don't even know if they're a man or a woman. Who's going to win? Those same men are here in America by the millions. Who's going to win that internal war? The war fighters, the sheepdog, as we like to call ourselves in law enforcement and military, are we going to be able to control all of them? The answer is no. So where are we going to deputize all the people that me and Sheriff Mark were going to say? By the men, where are we going to go? We're going to go to the baristas? We're going to go to the coffee shops? That's where we're going to go to? I'm going to show you a video, my last video, and I'm going to just show a minute of it, okay, Caleb? Because we're running up on time. And I want to just use this to talk about our last, just take 30 seconds to talk about our last sponsor of the show, and that's sat123.com. Now, you watch these videos, and my show is about being prepared healthy-wise and being prepared physically for physical altercation. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. One way is connectability, sat123.com/JJ. Also Faraday bags. I had a vault interview with Dr. Lucky today, and he said, listen, you should never have your phone by your bedstand while you sleep, or have your computer on by your bedstand. It should be in a Faraday bag. It should be tucked away because they're listening to you, because of the frequencies. Sat123.com has Faraday bags. Be prepared. Be prepared. Just like I say, go to Bella Grace, go to Patriots Made, go to Pet Club 24/7. Go to sat123.com/JJ. Free cell phone, free sat phone, up to $1,500 free with a subscription, a monthly subscription. Go to sat123.com/JJ. Caleb, can you please just play a minute and 15 seconds of this video, please?
Quran and Sunnah, which is Sharia. We will
if there is a contradiction between the Constitution and Sharia.
Yes. The way that we will deal with that, inshallah, is through the electoral process. We will run candidates, inshallah, wherever Muslims live, and inshallah we'll get to...
You're not the majority.
No, that's what I'm saying. We will have, inshallah, not yet, but we will have. That's why I'm running for commissioner. That's why, inshallah, we need more Muslims إنهم ينتخبوا commissioners, senators, congressmen, whatever, political, in cities, in the big government, small government, you name it.
In Dearborn, they already have control.
Yeah, Dearborn, where are you going now?
You'll see in Dearborn, they already have control over the city.
Yeah,
so it's not impossible. It just will take time. That's why the strategy is a long-term strategy.
I can be very confident to tell you that we are on the road to the White House, to the Congress, to the decision-making everywhere in the United States. 40 years ago, we had a mayor for this town who talks about the Arab problem. Guess what?
The bomb is ticking. The bomb is ticking. You know it. You want to hide from it. Like they said, we already own Dearborn. We are going to repopulate and take over the electoral process. You don't think that can happen? The top 10 cities in the United Kingdom all have Muslim mayors. Don't think this isn't going to happen here. It's happening here because we allowed millions upon millions of illegal aliens to flood our country unabated, all in the name of diversity and to fundamentally transform the United States of America from a white majority to a hodgepodge of everything under the sea. And we've allowed these people to come in and rape, murder, and pillage our citizens and our citizenship and destroy the sovereignty of America. Buckle up, America, and get prepared. The war is here.
You are watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House. You're
All right, welcome to Code Blue with Dr. John and Brooke. It is April the 7th, 2025. And so here on Code Blue, our main focus is really talking about the healthcare and what's happening in America. Of course, we've been in the battle for years now. The COVID debacle brought many of us to a whole new realization of the medical community and what's happening. I've been a medical doctor for 25 plus years, 30 plus years of counting medical school and training. And, you know, I've never seen anything like what we saw during COVID. The doctors' hands were pretty much tied. Many of the doctors just went along with whatever the government pushed. And they said, well, you know, we just have to, this is the way we're going to do it. And some doctors bought into it, that was the right way to do things. And then, of course, there was doctors like myself and others that really just were very concerned about the mRNA COVID vaccines and very concerned about things like remdesivir and many of the protocols that were pushed by the federal government, Dr. Fauci, and et cetera. And this funneled right down to the states. The states are very much, you know, the health departments in each of the states pretty much control public health and vaccines in particular. And so we just saw so many states, whether they're a red state like we are here in Mississippi or blue states, they were very much the government protocols were pushed. And so, but we're going to show you that there are states that have pushed back. You know, in Florida was probably the state that pushed back the most with Dr. Joseph Ladapo as the Surgeon General there, and Governor DeSantis. They were really, you know, didn't do a perfect job, but at least they were speaking out and did not go full steam forward with the mandates, whether they be mask mandates, lockdowns, and certainly we're very concerned about the mRNA vaccines. And, you know, Dr. Ladapo has come out and pretty much totally opposed the mRNA vaccines. And so we're hopeful that other states will continue to do this. And we have good news here. Idaho, you know, Idaho has also been in the fight. And so with that, Brooke, you want to comment on the video we're going to show here?
Yes, I have been following an attorney and an advocate for health freedom for a long time. Her name is Leslie Manookian, and I've never met her, but I listened to something that she had. It was just a recording of her. I don't even know if she knew she was being recorded, but she explained a tremendous amount of background information about how all of the plans had been laid out over the last 30 years to basically put the nation in a trap, put the world in a trap about medical freedom. And she just had a lot of insight. So when I follow her, I saw that she was getting very excited about things going on in Idaho. And we too have a group in Idaho that has been working hard on a very local level in approaching the lesser magistrates in government, trying to make them aware of things that have been happening. And I think it's possibly been a combined effort from Leslie working with the top and with the representatives, and then other groups that have been bringing forth the truth. And I think it's really a combined effort where, you know, these representatives, legislators have seen how these freedoms have impacted their own families. We don't know what has really been making the change, but we all know people that have been impacted and harmed from either mandates or medical freedom, or, you know, what it's done to the children in their schools. So I'm very happy that this has happened.
Yes. Okay. So with that, Logan, can you roll the video we have?
I'm here with Idaho's dream team. Oh my God.